Hi, I'm Jake Duesenberg. I'm the founder of Action for Liberty, and I got president of Action for Liberty, Eric Mortensen, here with me. Eric, what the heck happened in Otter Tail County?
Well, Grassroots turned out in record numbers, it sounds like. They did exactly what they're supposed to do. If you don't like the direction of your local party unit, show up to caucus night, get involved in the process and amplify that political voice. But unfortunately, David Hann put his thumbs on the scales here and unseated hundreds of delegates that were duly elected up in Otter Tail.
So I hear one of the claims that David had made was that the delegates weren't elected at the right time according to state law. What did you observe from the evidence and testimonies of people when Action for Liberty went up to Otter Tail County last weekend?
Everything that we saw, all the evidence, all of the testimony from dozens of people shows that they did begin these delegate elections within the first hour of caucus starting. And that's what statute requires, for the election of delegates to begin within that first hour. So imagine showing up to your polling place, getting in line at 7:55 p.m., and the poll workers coming out at 8 p.m. and saying, nope, we're now closed. You don't get a chance to vote.
It was loud in there, but it wasn't because it was chaos. It was because Mr. Miracle thought he needed to tell everybody something at their tables. And I think that it's fair to say he was watching the clock, because after 8 o'clock, he was telling everyone, this is null and void. There is video on that.
There's video of the Otter Tail City, I think it was the Otter Tail City secretary specified that in her notes, which we do have copies of that, but that she was taking the time, and there's multiple people who from Otter Tail City kept telling Tommy, sit down. There was a specific comment made there that, well, it's past 8 o'clock, so none of this is going to matter anyways, because we're outside of the election of the delegates.
What's he really saying?
Tammy, were those filled out when people joined the precincts or right away at the night?
Yes, these are all filled out at their precinct tables. This was, you wrote your name down, it was kind of the sign-in sheet, and then the elections sheet. It's what you wanted to run as, you'd circle or check. I think these little dashes were boxes, like you're saying.
And so those were filled out right away when the caucus convened in the 7 o'clock hour?
Exactly, yeah.
David Hann also says that there's no way they could tell who were the delegates. They're just not sheets of paper or delegate forms where they could figure out who was actually elected at the precinct that night.
Well, that's a lie. We witnessed firsthand dozens of pictures of caucus delegate lists at the precinct level. In fact, these delegates have gotten pretty wise over the years after what happened to them in 2022, that many of them took pictures. I think we have 80 some odd pictures of delegate lists that were taken that night.
In my view, the only accurate election results are on the sign-in forms that the secretary and the chair of the precinct filled out, and that's who was elected.
The intent, we heard that earlier from the gentleman, we can easily determine the intent of the caucus, okay? You can easily look at the paperwork, and if there is anything that's unclear, that is why you have a precinct chair and a secretary.
That we need to look at the intent of the voter. That's something we really need to do.
What is at stake here, and why is it so important to see these people being reinstated?
Election integrity is at stake. Republicans claim to be the party of election integrity. And these people took their time on that Tuesday night, February 27th, to show up, do exactly what they were told to do 2 years ago, that if you don't like the outcome, to organize and show up en masse and become a delegate. Well, that's exactly what they did. And now they're being disenfranchised by Minnesota GOP Chair David Hann.
Heading down that path, and that was that because of 2022, we got no reprieve from 2022's corruption that absolutely happened. We got none. So what was the solution, right? There's one last relief valve, and that was to what we always get told, oh, you're just being a whiner and a crier, Nathan. You lost, you're being a baby about it. You know, turn people out and get people to caucus, and what happens? We get people to caucus, and the goalposts move, and now here we are again in the same situation. More corruption.
We want change. We're here for change. And we're demanding it, really.
The reason I was there was because I wanted to become a delegate. Because I decided that I have 4 children, 8 grandchildren, but I do not want to exit this planet without being able to say that I took a stand. I stood up for integrity. I stood up for truth.
I brought to this caucus, and she was receiving emails that I was not, about how the caucus didn't count. And after 3 emails, she said to me, you know what, I'm just gonna delete these from now on. So my daughter, who is going to vote, hopefully in a presidential election, no longer wants to take part in the process. This is what it's costing us. It's costing us the next generation.
Well, this is exactly why Action for Liberty was founded. Teaching people on how to empower themselves, how to wield their political power, and how to apply pressure to politicians when they politically misbehave. I always tell people, if you are not politically feared, you will not be politically respected. And that is at the very heart of what Action for Liberty does when we're trying to right these types of wrongs. You can follow us at actionforliberty.com. We will definitely keep you guys posted as this thing progresses.